Well, just inside the paddock now with our pole sitter for the 116 BMW class. How are we feeling out there, Sam?
Yeah, good. It was quite slippy, but to be fair, I think it was a lot of fun actually. The track's not too bad. The car was really good, so I'm quite pleased with the pace we've set, and it'll probably be dry later on anyway. So it doesn't mean too much right now.
Yeah, I was going to say that in here there's patches everywhere, but there's people washing the cars, so there's water all the way around the circuit. But the track itself, it looked really slippery this morning. As you say, sounded slippery as well. Hopefully it dries up for the race. But yeah, just with the changing conditions, are these a lot different in those changing conditions?
Yeah, but obviously you've got traction control in these cars, so we actually, it helps you a lot. It's almost too easy to drive. Might be a bit of fun if we didn't have them on, to be fair. So it's so easy to drive with it when it's actually turned on. But it is tricky out there. The conditions are tricky, and I think, probably a lot of people have struggled with that, but it's a lot of fun. These cars are easy to drive in the wet. But if it's dry this afternoon, it'll be very different, and probably a different result, because our car might not be the quickest in the dry, so fingers crossed it's going to rain this afternoon, and we have a good result this afternoon.
Excellent stuff. It looks like a very competitive paddock, but it looks like a fun paddock as well, which is the most important thing. But yeah, best of luck for the race later today.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Cheers.
And it's going to be a very big grid as well for this 90-minute race. Great to see so many cars out on the circuit for this one. And there you see it.
You've got the grid on the screen, Ian.
Yeah, we do indeed. So on pole position it is the Andrew Woodbine car, number 12. Alongside him is number 88, that's James Alford. These aren't necessarily the start drivers. We'll go through those for you in a moment. Patrick Scharfiger, number 99, is on the inside of row 2 alongside number 83, Chris Neal. Edward Braffridge, number 26, alongside 231, John Coburn on row 3. Row 4, number 5, Anthony Seddon, and 46, Rory Baptiste. Row 5, 87, Louis Woodward, and 59, Rob Carvel. James Reddish, number 1, and Ian Carvel, number 58, on the 6th row of the grid. And there's 28 cars out here, by the way. Freddie Tatham, 71, and Alex Povey, number 93, on row 7. Daniel Reed, number 28, and Andrew Shang, number 53, on row 8. And Richard Roundell, number 22, and Richard Phillips, number 44, on row 9 of the grid. And row 10, Ed McKean, number 18, Richard Lakey, number 11. Eduardo Fredini, 27, and Shane Rowe, number 9, on the 11th row. Chris Slater, 17, and Chris Noakes, number 2, on row 12. Couple more rows to go. The Derek Coyne car, number 29, on P25. Alongside him, number 80, Theo Millward, and Lewis Tyndall, 75, and Rick Shortall, number 3, starting at the back of the grid. So this is the 116 trophy, backed by GAZ Shocks, a 90-minute race. And we've sort of doubled the number of these cars since last season, which is absolutely fantastic, Josh.
Yeah, more than double. I think that we had this equivalent meeting last year. 90-minute race, 1, 2 or 3 driver race. We've got a couple of pit stops to happen in the race. No refueling. These have got big enough tanks to do a 90-minute race, but because of the 3 drivers in some cars, 2 drivers in others, and 1 driver in some, we have a mandatory two pit stops required. Each pit stop will be 90 seconds long, so it's fair for everybody, and of course allowing in 3 drivers in some cars when you don't need the 3 drivers, it makes it much more cost effective, and that's exactly what the GAZ Shocks 116 trophy is all about.
Yeah, and it's a 90-minute race, as we say. It has a rolling start. We're already into the countdown procedure for that race, so just trying to tell you who some of the start drivers are where we can. So we don't know, I don't think, who's actually starting the Andrew Woodbine and Sam Carrington Yates car that's on pole position. We'll probably be able to work that out fairly quickly once the race gets underway. I think Sam Carrington Yates probably the quicker driver of the 2 there. And then the 88 car of James Alford, well, that's a single driver car in any case. Then you've got the 99 car of Patrick Scharfiger. He is starting that one on the 2nd row, former catering racer. And then alongside him, you've got the 83 car, which is Matt Maxted actually starting that one. 3rd row, 26, is being started by Lachlan Bearman. And then next to him, the 231 car is being solo driven by John Coburn. Team 5 on row 4 of the grid, that's Alan Caulfield starting that one. And 46, which is solo driven by Rory Baptiste, is next to him. Then row 5, 87 is a solo driver, Carlo Woodward, and likewise 59 is Rob Carvell also a single driver entry. So there's a mixture of 1, 2 and 3 driver teams, which brings a different dimension to it as well. Pit stops have to be made between the 15th and 75th minute of the race. So the middle sort of 2/3 is when both of the mandatory pit stops must be made. If there's pit stops that are made outside of the window, then there's penalties. If there's pit stops that are less than 90 seconds, there's penalties. You can, of course, make additional stops if you need to for running repairs to the cars. Should be a good one, though, this, Josh.
It's be interested, isn't it? Because there's a big variety of driver experience in here. We've got drivers who are brand new to racing. You've got drivers who we heard from earlier, racing Formula One, and you've got all the different aspects in the middle. You've got really experienced club racers like the Carvell brothers, I think they are, Ian and Rob Carvell in different cars, very experienced Volkswagen racers. Well, I remember them racing in the most. You've got like Matt Maxted, who's done a bit of Janetta racing recently and been a race winner in the club enduro championship within the 750 motor club. So some great differences in the driver lineups, which is great to see. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely right. We'll see as well during the course of this race, if we do get pit visitors, it's possible we might be able to hear from Anthony Jordan down in the pit lane as well, if there are any incidents, any visitors that we need to try and figure out what's gone on with them, any mechanical problems. I'm sure Anthony will try and head down and find out what's going on, while maintaining social distancing, of course, which won't be easy in a busy pit lane. So 28 cars on the grid for the Gas Shocks 116 trophy. This looks absolutely magnificent, doesn't it? This is a real low-cost way to go endurance racing, and sort of really credible cars as well. Coming up to the line then, not necessarily in that good an order, but the race does get underway, I think. So heading up towards Richie's Corner for the first time, it is the 12 car, which is the Andrew Woodburn and Sam Carrington Yates car that leads the way. They turn their way through Richie's for the first time. It's a 90-minute race, so not a sprint. It's not going to be won at the first corner. Might be lost, of course, but there's a long way to go here. Nevertheless, there's 1 or 2 cars that are quite late on the brakes, heading into the hairpin at Wilson for the first time.
Some great liveries in here too, aren't there? In car number 9 there, looking at the Shane and Andrew Rowe car. That's got a nice livery on it. So great to see so many people putting lots of effort into how their cars look. Just to note, both the different teams that won races last year not here. Bobby Trundley, the Team Brit team, not here, and the Paul Whiten and Lewis Whiten Turner car, which also won last year, not here. So whoever wins this will win a 116 trophy race for the first time.
Yeah, it's wide open, isn't it, as well. So they're making their way around the first lap here. There you can see the number 1 car, that's the Redwood racing car, being started by James Reddish. Almost getting into a bit of a scrape there.
That would Rob Carvell behind.
Yeah, so the 2 Carvell brothers racing in identical livery. That's not confusing at all, is it? The 58 and 59 cars, the R.A. Potter entered cars there, and they're sort of mid-grid.
I think we would make a suggestion it's Sam Carrington Yates going first in the 12 car.
Yeah, I'm going with you on that, I think. So,
experienced racer, done a bit of BMW racing with the club in the past, I think, then free car.
Yeah, he's done Formula Ford 1600 too. He's done a number of different categories as Sam Carrington Yates. So he leads the way at the end of the first lap.
He's checked out rather, 2 seconds as his gap over James Alford, who did racing in this category last season, and it's 26 in third, which is Lachlan Bearman, who I think's done a bit of Fiesta racing in the past. One car's gone out wide, kicked up the dust at Ritchie's. I think he's got away with it. Then in 4th position is Alan Caulfield, who shares with Anthony Seddon. They've had some success in these races last season. They've had a couple of second places. Some battling in the middle here, 87 involved in that is Louis Woodward, who's a single driver, as is John Cockburn, who's behind him.
And the 87 car just got over the grass there on the exit of Chapman, but no real harm done, I don't think. 231 John Coburn there from Thirsk. He's a solo driver. So down they come into Brundle and Nelson for the second time. No pit stops until 15 minutes, as we say.
It's planned.
Well, yeah, no mandatory pit stops until that point in time. There's the 87 cars which took up. Behind that then is the 1 machine, which is James Reddish starting that car. And then we've got the 93 machine, which is Guy Povey, started the car.
Another experienced driver, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Some little bit of Brit car racing in the past. About of a second, pretty good. You've got 3 cars involved, being led by James Alford, and then, as we mentioned earlier, Bearman and Caulfield are the ones that are chasing him. But great to see this having a much bigger grid. It automatically makes it a much better prospect over the next 90 minutes.
It certainly does, doesn't it? So Sam Carrington has gone over the line again. His lead extending to 2.7 seconds now over James Alford in second place. There's the 5 car. So that's Alan Caulfield that started this one. He's only just behind number 26. That's the Manager Simulation 4040 racing car of Lachlan Bearman.
Yeah, the 4040 team are running a lot of cars in this race. They've got about half a dozen, with all different sponsors, I think, in their team names.
So that's the Anthony Seddon racing car, being driven by Alan Caulfield. We'll see Anthony out himself for the second part of this race, driving from Tarpley, so very local to Alton Park.
Saw earlier the Royal Air Force car out there, which is good to see because, of course, the Armed Forces Challenge has been paused for this year, but good to see a number of their members out here in the 116 trophy.
Yeah, we've got Chris Slater and Ed McKean both out there, I think.
Yeah.
For this one, which is good to see. So lap number 3 then. How many laps are we going to get? They're doing about 137 on a flying lap. So it'll be probably about 55 laps, something like that, they'll get in this race, I would think, a 90-minute encounter.
Interestingly, Alan Caulfield did the fastest lap, so a quick first lap from Carrington Yates, but now he's not really going any quicker than anyone else, and isn't going quicker than Caulfield, who did a 136.7 the first flying lap of the race. There's the GAZ Shocks car, drove by Matt Maxted, who actually didn't make really any progress on the first lap and lost a couple, I think. He started 4th. That's not really what you'd expect from Maxted, but he's fighting here on Patrick Sharp there. They go side by side across the line for second position here as Lachlan Bearman going round the outside of James Alford into Ritchie's. He chucked it in and he gets through, I think. He's run out wide though. That may not help his cause and brings Alan Caulfield into all 3 of them together here. Caulfield's up the inside now of Alford. Where is Bearman in all of this? He has got through, so it's 2 places lost for James Alfield, and battling behind, Matt Maxted gains a place.
Yeah, he does, so he's now ahead of the 99 Patrick Sharfiger car. Striking livery on that one, is it for Sharfiger? But yeah, Matt Maxted is someone who you'd expect to move forward here. We've seen him be quite successful in 750 Most Club racing in the past.
Absolutely. I think he won the Club Enduro race at Spa last year in a Class B car, which was a good effort. Here comes a challenge. This is Sharfiger trying to get back past Maxted, isn't it, on the inside line. And Maxted hangs it out around the outside at Brundle, which gives him the inside for Nelson. And stays ahead. Had some great racing throughout the weekend through that sequence of corners. That's where always you used to watch racing as a very young boy.
Well, Chris Neal in number 83 getting some encouragement, but it is Matt Maxted at the wheel of that car at the moment. Chris will be out in it later on. So turning their way through Coram now. Still in the very early stages of this race, of course, but some of the action has been more reminiscent of a 15-minute sprint than a 90-minute enduro, I must say.
Well, I say endurance racing is just a bunch of sprint races nowadays, Ian. Well, maybe not so much at club level.
Possibly not. So those cars go over the line and past our window at the same time. Obviously, all these cars race in the same class, so we don't have to worry about different class positions. They're all identical E87 116Is.
No driver ratings here.
No, absolutely. So it's all pretty straightforward. What you see is basically what you get. These cars very nicely turned out indeed. Of course, this is for the 116i models that were produced from around 2004 to 2006, so already 15 years old roughly, these cars, but the design still looks fresh in my mind.
We've had a 1 series out in the BTCC at times, haven't we? Colin
We have
Turkin
had,
too,
yeah.
doing well in it.
And indeed in the BMW Car Club Racing Championship as well, which we also see with the 750 Most Club these days returning for the series.
Yeah, Rick Kerry with his much larger engine than what the 1600s are. Good versatile car and a good affordable way to get into races, as we're seeing here into Coram. Novice Cross on the back of the Bearman car, free driver car. Edward Raprager and Gary Colborne in that one with Lachlan Bearman, who's starting to get away from Alan Caulfield, who likes the curb there at Murray's, doesn't he? Hops over it. And James Alford not really losing any time after falling behind those two. There's Sam Carrington Yates getting away up front. experienced racer, as we spoke about earlier, and then the rest of them come a few seconds later. And everyone finding their own pace now, and will be looking to settle in to do a consistent lap time throughout their stint. You probably won't be particularly sure how long their stints will be as of yet. If you're driving by yourself, you can be a lot more flexible. Perhaps if there's a safety car, that would be a good time to pit. Whereas if you're sharing a car, you may be more keen to give each of your co-drivers a fair share of the time in the car.
If you're going solo, you could almost do 2 stops back to back, presumably, if there was a long safety car period. That might be something that might work out. Some encouragement for David Weinberg in number 27. He is having his first race in the Sword Point 40/40 racing kart, so he is in number 27. Where's he running at the moment? He's in 22nd position, but first time out. That's there's no use racing. That's all the best to him. So coming up to the 10-minute mark in this race. There's the number 7. The number 1, sorry, I beg your pardon. That's the James Reddish car.
It's hard to tell, isn't it?
It was from that angle. We don't have a 7 though, so that should be clear.
59 Rob Carvel behind. Good to see the Carvels back out. Don't think they've done too much racing recently.
Yeah, we saw them at the VW Cup, didn't they? A number of years ago now, when it was supporting the F3 and GT package. And they usually embarrass much more modern machines.
Were they Ventos, were they?
Yeah, there was Scirocco, I think, wasn't there?
Right.
For one of them.
Oh, yes. Back when Volkswagen Cup had big grids and a large number of different types of car and van.
Yeah, indeed. We all remember the van, people like Peter Wehrhilling driving that as well.
I think we had the red van rolled here at Snetterton one year. Giles Locke in the Postman Pat van. That's sidetracking a bit from this race.
It is, really. So we've got BMWs on track, not VWs. The 116 trophy here.
This battle continues, doesn't it?
It
for
is.
Second place between Lachlan Bearman, and this a good effort from Alan Caulfield, who raced in these cars, as I said, last year, and perhaps that experience helping him out battle with Lachlan Bearman. And James Alford not falling too far away either. I think he was racing here last year too. Yeah, he's had a podium in 116 trophy in the past. So there's 26, second place car of Lachlan Bearman. Cars look pretty settled, don't they, around the circuit? Not getting too much sliding, I don't think. They're on very much budget tyres, so therefore not giving off perhaps the grip of what we see in some of our other categories. And that's partially the reason why the lap times are a bit slower than some of our other cars. Yeah, the one Nankang control tyres, which cost just £260 for a full set, so I'm quite happy with that for my road car, I think. Very much a standard specification that these cars run to. They run a replacement sports exhaust catalyst. There's an ECU reflash to be done, but the engine otherwise remains pretty standard. There's a control coil damper kit from GAZ Shocks. Brakes remain standard, but you can change the pads if you like. And the 5-speed manual transmission from the car original specification is all that can be used. Challenge here for second, Ian, because Alan Caulfield was really quick through Ritchie's. He looks to the outside of Bearman, but he's not going to go through, I don't think. But that was a good effort. Didn't work out, though. Absolutely. So a long way to go, though, still. It's about 1/8 of the way through this race at the moment. We've got a black and white driving standards flag for somebody already there, I can see, out of my window. Trying to figure out who that is. Oh, still very sideways there. That was James Reddish, wasn't it? Indeed. Of course, these cars will be pretty heavy now because they have enough fuel in to do 90 minutes of racing, so they'll be getting lighter as the race goes on. 1 minute 36.5 best lap for Carrington Yates at the moment. That lap time just keeps coming down, I think, throughout the course of this stint. Be interesting to see here as well with 2 driver cars who does 2 stints and how they do them 2 stints. They do them in one go, or do they do 2 driver changes? I think it's a good question, and we may not know. Yeah, the vehicle weight, minimum vehicle weight is 1,150 kilos, and that excludes the driver. So it'll be a bit heavier than that at the moment, the full fuel load aboard, and the driver aboard as well, of course. I don't know how much fuel you might need to put in, something like 50 litres, I would have said. These cars, I suspect, are more fuel economic than some other race cars out there. There's Carrington Yates, the leader, completing 8 laps. And here's the chasing pack for second again, popping out the toe. Alan Caulfield, he popped one way, then the other, but just not quite enough to go through. And I guess because they don't have quite so much grip, these tyres, you've got to be a bit... They can only provide so much grip, and trying to pass another car perhaps a bit more challenging. Therefore, you can't sort of just stick it around the outside because the tyres just won't allow you to do that. So you have to think about an overtake. And at the moment, Caulfield unable to get past Bearman.
Yeah, very close there, and you almost sense that this is the kind of thing that could change around in the pits relatively easily. So
yeah, that's going to be when the racing's so close on track. It's easy to lose a second or two, and of course everybody's got to do between driver changes. They've got to sanitise the car, which has been allowed for in the driver change time, isn't it? 90-second pit stop each time is required.
Yeah, so that has to be done to keep everybody safe. There are penalties if you underdo it. If your stop is only 80 seconds, for example, you get a penalty equivalent to double the amount that you didn't take, so 20 seconds for the extra 10 seconds that you in theory saved.
Here's that second place battle into Murray. I think James Alford is getting closer to them as they battle in front. Bearman and Caulfield slipstreaming their way around. Of course, to save fuel as well by sitting in the tow. This is what we see in the 2CV 24-hour races here at Snetterton. In a long stint, you just sit behind another car and breathe off the throttle. But you shouldn't need to save fuel in a race without a fuel stop.
No.
But sort of saves the engine a bit, doesn't it? You're not needing to push on down the straights quite so much when you're using the airflow of the car in front. But I think what Caulfield is quite keen to do is get past Lachlan Bearman, but Bearman's put his car in the right places and not allowing the car behind through.
Well, of course, the thing is, I mean, Caulfield might think, well, actually, I'm quite a bit quicker here, and I could be setting off after Sam Carrington Yates and making ground here. Lap time-wise, Caulfield's done 1:36.74. He's only about 3/10 quicker than the car ahead, 1:37.03, and Carrington Yates done 1:36.59. Actually, there's not that much in it between anybody. Alford's done 1:36.97, so all of the top four have done just about 1:37 or better. Quite a few in the 1:38s as well at this stage of the race. So we are coming up to the 15-minute mark, so the pit lane window will be open. In fact, you can see the sign now showing from our commentary box window that the pit lane window is open now. So the one thing we can't see here is drivers heading into the pit lane, unfortunately.
So we had 27 starters, so we might have lost one before the start, but all the 27 that did start are still going. She's good. I think they're all on the lead lap at the moment, but I don't know, number 9's gone missing on this lap, actually.
It has. That's the Rowe car, isn't it?
Indeed.
Shane and Andrew Rowe.
I think everybody else is still on the lead lap, but shortly Sam Carrington Yates will be catching cars to lap. And as they're all similar cars, lap Henry may get difficult, especially as the race goes on where you're lapping people that really aren't much slower than you.
Absolutely.
Out of a second here, again Caulfield trying to find a way through. Outside, this is a big move this time. He's overlapping more than we've seen before. As we've seen all weekend long, you sort of get frustrated on that outside line at Wilson because of Chapman curve. You seem to lose out on that difficult inside line.
So head off down the Bentley Straight, and there the lappery is beginning. That's the car number 3. That's the HEL 4040 racing car, which is being started by Julian Kingston-Smith. Rick Shortland and Rob Raymond also will be out in that car as well. The course of the race, but the lappery underway now. About 17 minutes into the race here. So just over a sixth of the way through.
Matt Maxted's not made any inroads on these top 4, has he? Not got the pace of them, seemingly. He's 5 seconds behind. These two battling aren't really losing themselves too much time. There's a car that's been off at Ritchie's. Could that have been 27? There was just that was David Weinberg.
The 9 car has been into the pits and come back out again. So that could be the first mandatory stop, actually, for Shane and Andrew Rowe. We didn't know who started that car, so we still don't know who's in it now. But they have pitted, I reckon, now. We assume that therefore will count as a mandatory stop. The 27 car looking a little bit slow, the Sword Point car, the David Weinberg Guado Fridani car.
second place battle heading off to the Wilson hairpin, but absolutely together. So whether we might pick that up in a moment, see if Alan Caulfield will be able to challenge again on Lachlan Bearman. Meanwhile, oh, here they are, and he's done it, hasn't he? Up the inside into the Wilson hairpin. Good run through Ritchie, set it up nicely for Caulfield. Now, can he hang on the long run down the Bentley straight? He's sitting right in the toe, trying to come back now is Lachlan Bearman. Lachlan Bearman then sitting right on the rear bumper here. And they've got a car to lap 2, which flash the lights from Caulfield. I think they're going to get past that car okay though, and if he's able to hang on here, is he? Because Bearman darts to the inside. There's another car in the pits here.
That's the 87 car, it's Louis Woodward, another solo driver, so certainly this could be a mandatory stop as well, because we are about 18, 19 minutes into this race.
That pass has worked, so Caulfield through on lap 12 at the Wilson hairpin. Gap to the leader, something like 10 seconds. So we'll see if he can do anything about that now he's got some clear road.
Through Murray's they come once again. And out onto the centre straight, the start and finish straight here on the Snetterton 200 circuit. A few battles going on, but a lot of cars reasonably well spread out at this point.
New fastest lap from Alan Caulfield immediately, 1:36.54. That included the pass. So that's a good effort there from Alan Caulfield, 1:36.5. There's the leader though, won't see much of him. It's Sam Carrington Yates in the All Electrical Energies car. The All Electrical car then leads the way. There's a pit stopper that Ian spoke about a moment ago. Louis Woodward going back out onto the circuit.
Yep. So 9 seconds the gap between first and second. Let's see if Sam Carrington Yates can start to eat into that now. 71 just getting past our commentary box window is the Freddie Tafen car that he's sharing with Martin Donnelly and autosport journalist Stefan Mapley as well.
It's the guest car, isn't it? I think they're hoping to get a number of names in that over the course of the season, so it'll be interesting to see. Whoa, that's Caulfield pushing away too hard. He just about avoided by the car behind. But I think he clipped the curb quite nastily. We'll see, I think, if we can get a replay of that as well in a moment. But a big spin there for Alan Caulfield from second place. He just done the fastest lap of the race, but chucked it away there, and he's lost a lot more time than he ever would have gained.
Yeah, all that hard work has come to nothing, it would seem. So 22 we're looking at there. That is the Richard Roundle car, and he is just ahead of 29, which is the most mech 4040 racing car being started by Travis Coyne. And that is 18th and 19th position there they are disputing.
It's good to see the battle through the pack, isn't it? So everybody getting some battling in with such a big grid. We run side by side here, down to Brundle. Inside line for 29 then, so Travis Coyne ahead. So turn their way through the S's and then being chased by Richard Roundle. I think just drops away a little bit out the corner.
Reminder, if you'd like to watch the live timing screen, have that alongside the live stream itself, that you can see that 750mc.co.uk, the 750 Motor Club website. There's a link there to the live timing and also the digital program as well, so you can get hold of that and watch that alongside the live stream as well.
Alan Caulfield recovered in 7th, just behind Ian Carvell, but ahead of John Cockburn. So Ian Carvell's come through nicely, now up to 6th. Don't know if some of that's from pit stops or if he's working his way through the order a little bit.
Well, his lap times are nothing special compared to the cars ahead of him.
He's not 6th anymore because through there goes Caulfield back ahead of him. So Caulfield's got the pace, just lost, 15 seconds in that spin. A moment ago, quite a dramatic spin it was.
Yeah, it was. 2-3-1 club John Coburn as well. So we are 20 odd minutes into this race now, getting up towards a quarter race distance in this GAZ Shocks 116 trophy race here at Snetterton. The 200 circuits in use this weekend. 24th of 25 races, been fantastic weekends of action. There's the 3 car then, which is the Hell 40 Julian Kingston Smith car, which is indicating to the right. I thought it was going to pitch for a moment, but it's gone past the pit lane entrance there.
Looking a little bit smoky, I thought.
Well, that's what I thought too.
He's 27, which is David Weinberg, the car he shares with Eduardo Fredani. And around the outside of him comes 26, which is Lachlan Bearman, the second place car lapping him, and following him by goes James Alford.
12, Sam Carrington Yates in the lead then by about 10 seconds. He's just lapped the 44 car. That's Richard Phillips. So just making his way through the traffic now.
Meanwhile, Rory Baptiste dropping down the timing screens, which would suggest he's in the pit lane.
We've got James Reddish and the Andrew Shang car together. But actually it's Jason Dixon, isn't it, that's in that car at the moment, we think.
Good to see Andrew Shang back at former stock catch race. So, big spin, that's the third place car. James Alford out of the bomb hole, having a huge multiple rotation. I don't think he lost as much time as Caulfield did earlier. We'll see where he comes through. And there's a 5-second penalty board going out, I think, there.
Let's see if we can spot that on our screen. No, we can't at the moment.
Maybe it's not quite been put into the system yet. That's what it looked like anyway, that penalty.
Yeah.
Not to have something else that on the other, wrote on the other side of the board.
Well, I'll tell you what, you keep watching this stream. I'm going to look out of the window and see if I can see a number. I think it probably is a 5-second penalty for somebody though.
Challenge here from 17, which is Chris Slater, who is Chris battling with the Povey car. So Guy Povey and Chris Slater together here, having a good battle for 15th and 16th positions. They turn through the Royal Air Force car, drove by Chris Slater, enjoying himself in this battle, and not that far ahead is 75, Lewis Tyndall, the car he shares with Lee Hollywood and Andrew Bayliss. Here's Matt Maxted, who is battling with James Alford, and Alford just got back ahead of him, so Alford back into third, where he was anyway before he spin.
Rory Baptiste has been into the pits and gone back out again, another solo driver. So taking an advantage of a relatively early stop. If you are going to split the race into thirds, then, well, we're coming up to the end of the first third now, aren't we, really? So it'll be about the time you'd expect some driver changes to take place, maybe.
So here's Alford, who's just got past Maxted, but Maxted fighting back. This is the corner where James Alford spun last time, so he would be looking not to repeat that. He runs out over the curve again. There's a car to lap 2. That's Chris Noakes, single driver car, which is going to go a lap down.
All right, the 5-second penalty's gone to number 1. That's James Reddish. So we'll make a note of that. That's the Redwood Racing car.
Currently 9th. A bit early to be getting track limit penalties, because any more problems and that penalty will increase, and he's got another hour not to run off over the track limits again. So coming down towards us is Chris Slater. He's got ahead of Guy Povey now. R17, Slater, and across the line the battle of Alford out over the third. He's side by side, and Matt Maxted got squeezed a bit wide there, I think. James Alford on the inside. I just lapped that 2 car, but Maxted giving Alford a good run here in this battle for 3rd and 4th positions.
One of the R.A. Potter cars, I think it was Rob Carvel, has just headed out of the pit lane exit. Does that make sense?
Ian Carvel, or Ian Carvel's last lap time was a 3 minutes 20.
Right, okay, so it's through the 58 car and 59 car.
I think so, yeah, because that doesn't trigger until the end of the lap, so that would get that pretty quickly. And people do come in. Some side-by-side action here. This is Caulfield trying to get 5th off of Scharfegger. So Caulfield continuing to recover from the spin at this corner a few laps ago. Still the road registration plate on the 99 car that Scharfegger shares with Stephen Beswick. And here comes Caulfield up the inside into Coram. He's trying to get the overlap through the long right-handed corner. Don't think he's managed it. Had to slip back behind, but good battle for 5th and 6th positions.
Now got a black and orange meatball flag being shown. Now I wonder if that is to the car that was smoking, a 3 car of Julian Kingston-Smith possibly. Not seen anything else that looks like it might need such a flag. So flag to tell the driver to come into the pit lane to get the car checked over. One of the scrutineers to look at it.
Leader must be in the pits, not come through. Sam Carrington Yates.
Yeah, indeed, showing now in the lead is the Lachlan Carter car. So we think Sam Carrington Yates is in the AWE electrical machine.
Here's the battle for what is now second, and there's the battle for fourth. Caulfield up the inside. We see the pit stop on your inset, but up into fourth position goes Alan Caulfield. He gets ahead there of Patrick Scharfegger for what, as I say, fourth position now.
Doesn't look like there's a driver change going on there, does there? In the number 12 car. So it looks like Sam Carrington Yates is possibly going to stay in the car this time.
Not a bad idea, I'd suggest. Driver change. Doing the one driver change, I would imagine, is the better option. Here is Caulfield now then in this fourth position. He's only 4 seconds behind the battle for second, so he's trying to go after them after making that pass on the last lap. He was a bit quicker too and already getting away from Scharfegger. Now he's ahead.
So Lachlan Bearman getting into the lead of the race then, with Sam Carrington Yates into the pits, James Alford second, Matt Maxted third. The 11 car hoving into view, which is the Richard Lakey and Anthony Wilds machine.
Carrington Yates gone back out the pitch, yes it is. On your screens you can see the former leader is back on the road and has come out onto the circuit in 16th position.
So it's pretty much a lap down effect, isn't it? That's roughly what a stop by the time you've had your 90 seconds plus or minus getting into the pits with a lap time of about 1:37. That's roughly what it's going to cost you, about a lap. 80 is the Team Ellsworth car.
Lachlan Bearman now in from who was the leader, 26. So that would be Lachlan Bearman to get out, and we believe Edward Raprager to get in, and the third driver in that car will be Gary Colborne. So that means the new leader is James Alford from Matt Maxted, and they're battling away.
Yeah.
They're being caught by Alan Caulfield too. So there's Carrington Yates after his stop. And in this next group is the leaders. Yes, they're the first cars through. So just on the lead lap is Sam Carrington Yates still. And here is the new leader, James Alford, who had a spin earlier, being chased by Matt Maxted, with the chase and Alan Caulfield just in the background.
Ed McKeon has been in for pit stop as well, in the number 18 car. The RAF Motorsport cars, he's now showing in 20th.
Caulfield lapping the row car there that ran a bit wide. There's a pit stop for 75. That's Lewis Tyndall getting out. He shares that car with Lee Hollywood and Andrew Bayliss. The Trophy Racing team, the JMC Auto Shop liveried car. Here across the line comes, oh, there's Carrington Yates on the back of the lead lap in what is now 13th as more cars pit, so he's back ahead now of what was Lachlan Bearman's car. And then just behind, passing our window, are the leaders, and we'll see if any of those came in this time. I think Alford did. So every time somebody takes the lead in, then they pit. So James Alford now into the pit lane, car number 88. So that gives Matt Maxted the lead by a couple of seconds over Alan Caulfield.
Yeah. We are just over a third of the way through the race now. And so far, touch wood, no sign of a safety car, which might throw the strategy wide open.
This might be a slower stop from Lachlan Bearman switching to Edward Raprager because they're yet to come out of the pits. So Ian Carvell, who has pitted, is already out ahead of them.
53 car going out now.
So that's another car that's got ahead of them. That's the Jason Dixon car changing over. We've got Graham Collinson and Andrew Chang in that car too.
The 2 car is out as well. That's the Redwood Racing Machine, which is Chris Noakes going solo.
Don't know if we've had that car back out again, the 26. Lachlan Bearman brought it in, but as far as I can see, it hasn't come back out again.
No, and there's another one that's just gone out as well that I've missed. Who that was?
There's the guest car, 71, at the back of this group. The car started by Freddie Tafen, and then Autosport Journo, Stephen Mapley will be in later, and then F1 racer Martin Donnelly too. Good to see Martin's back up and well, because I think he had a bit of an incident over the winter which didn't do his legs much good, which obviously was rather badly damaged in the past too.
Indeed. We did have a question as to why James Reddish has got a 5-second penalty. That is because we think track limits infringements during the course of the race. The 3 car has just left the pit. So that's the one that's been in. And who's that? That's the one that we were talking about.
Yeah, so this was a challenger for the lead, and this is quite frankly, a ridiculously long driver change from Lachlan Bearman. I wonder if there is a problem, because it shouldn't take this long.
No, it's losing time, which is a great shame because they're in a good position overall.
They're out of any kind of
right.
contention.
A message from Sam Baxter, and this good time with the black and orange flag we saw. He thought the 26 car's exhaust was hanging off. Why? No, I hadn't spotted that. Actually, you spotted that?
No, but if that is the case, that would explain the longer stop. Meanwhile, Caulfield is in. There goes the 26. So there was an exhaust problem. Hopefully that's been solved. Oh yeah, but who did I say came in? 5. Alan Caulfield into the pit lane. The car he shared with Anthony Seddon. So that will promote Matt Maxted to the lead. The car he shares with Chris Neal. And then Patrick Sharther go into second. The car he shares with Stephen Beswick. Third is John Cockburn. Fourth is Ian Carvell. Fifth is James Reddish. The car he shares with Jeremy Woodgate. And then in sixth position, the Povies. A guy started. Alex got in later. Although, yes, they're in sixth, and across the line in seventh, there comes 22, which is Richard Brundle. So we have got this driver change in the pit lane.
It's the 29 car, isn't it, I think?
That
Travis Coyne handing over.
Yes, it's got Derek Coyne and Asa Murius Closas in that car too.
International lineup. We've got viewers in as far afield as Chicago, I can tell you, on the YouTube feed as well.
I hope you're all enjoying some British motorsport. Let us know what you think to it, because I saw some of the comments yesterday from the German audience saying how impressed they were with the British club racing scene, and 750 Motor Club, the leaders within the club racing here in the UK.
Yep, so great stuff. And it's fantastic to have so many people all around the world watching the live stream from Snetterton 200 circuit of this 750 Motor Club race meeting. Let's give you a rundown on how things are at the moment. The leading car is number 83, which is Matt Maxted. 99 Patrick Sharford is second. 231 John Coburn is third. 59 Rob Carvell is fourth. In fifth place is the number 1 car of James Reddish. In sixth place, number 93 Guy Povey. Seventh, number 22 Richard Brundle. Up to 8th place is Sam Carrington Yates now, having made his first stop. 9th is the 80 car, which is the Chris Bayliss machine, and 10th is number 5, which is the car that was started by Alan Caulfield.
Those cars yet to stop. Out the pits comes the Tafen car, so I wonder if it's Smackney or Donnelly, and it's a plain white helmet. Would that suggest Stephen Mapley, I wonder?
It could do. I
think Martin Donnelly was racing here a couple of weeks ago too in the Lotus race, so he's getting some holes in since racing has returned at the beginning of the month. So good to see Stefan here. He's done a little bit of racing previously, I think, here in the Citroens.
Yeah, I think he's been out in the C1s. He's competed in the IST charity karting event in the past as well. It's really honed his talents, I think. T31. There's John Coburn then. 10 seconds adrift of the leaders. And now in the pits we have a car, which we can't see the number because there's people surrounding it. It's the 27 car that's in there, we believe, the Sword Point 4040 racing car. So that's David Weinberg. Problems, it would seem, with the engine cover open.
You mentioned Coburn earlier. On the previous lap, he was passed by Rob Carvell for third.
Right. Yes, he was. There's 17, which is Chris Slater, behind the Armed Forces Race Challenge, which we look forward to welcoming back to the circuits in the 750 Motor Club in 2021. But with the situation at the moment, they're unable to continue with that series for this year.
In the pit stops, by the way, Alan Caulfield has got past James Alford. They were quite close previously, so 5 ahead of 88 in the stops. But the pair of them are something like 25 seconds behind Sam Carrington Yates, but we're yet to see what kind of pace Carrington Yates' teammate has got when Andrew Woodburn gets in the car later on.
So we've got 71 car being overtaken around the outside by number 17, which is Chris Slater there. Rich's corner, and also going through, is that the 12 car as well? Yes, it is. So that's Sam Carrington Yates, the erstwhile race leader, who's now back up into seventh position. overall, having made a pit stop. And
New fastest lap last time, 1:36.42 for Carrington Yates.
yeah, as he's trying to get back through the field, he's now 51 seconds behind the race leader, I think. I don't know if that's in a minute.
So he's the lead in pit stopper. Second is the 5-car Caulfield. Third is 88 Alford, then 58 Carvel, and 87 Louis Woodward. He's moved up during the pit stop. Of course, more cars yet to take their first stop off the race. Good battle on track here. Is that car 80?
Yeah.
That is Chris Bayliss, who shares with Theo Millward. And right behind him is 11, which is Richard Lakey, who shares with Anthony Wild. Good to see Anthony Wild back out. He's done lots of PCV racing here at Snetterton over the years.
But the race leader's just got past them there, hasn't he?
Right.
That's Matt Maxted, who's had some encouragement from Ben Salmon, who is watching on.
He's co-driver in Club Enduro.
Indeed, exactly.
Interesting to hear from Ben if they're back out again this year. Chapter starts at Silverstone in a month's time.
Peter Weinberg, who's David Weinberg's dad, is now messaged on the comment on YouTube, watching from Chicago. It does seem to be that sadly the car has had one or two problems. I haven't seen it come out of the pit lane just yet, I'm afraid. Hopefully it will do.
I think that's the only car, though, that's been in strife. The other 26 are still in a reasonable position on the live timing screens.
Yeah, Richard Roundel, number 22, I think, has just come out of the pit lane as well.
Solo driver.
Yeah, outside the top 18 on the screen. I see that Freddie Tafen has got a 5-second penalty as well, number 71.
He's handed that over, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Either to Stephen Mapley or possibly to Martin Donnelly. Is this, do we know if this is a feature of in Autosport that Stephen's
well, I suspect it will be at some point, yes. I expect we'll read about that in due course.
Interesting to see what he thinks.
Yeah. And good to see expanded coverage of club and national racing in Autosport and race reports online as well. Autosport making a real effort now with the magazine being published in paper form again, if you've not seen it since it came back out a couple of weeks ago. Now there is Patrick Scharfegger trying to find a way through what to his mind are some slower cars. The number 11 car, he has blasted his way past through the bomb hole and towards Coram.
I think it'll be something like Tuesday, won't it, that the race reports from this meeting will go on autosport.com.
Yeah, Jason Noble on duty for Autosport this weekend, so do watch out for his words and pictures as well, I suspect, from Richard Stiles this weekend.
Seeing Richard in the background of some of our Alpha Live shots.
Coming up to halfway in this race, so it's gone to fair old lick, hasn't it? Just about 40 minutes gone now of this 90-minute race.
Yeah, so this is what we were suspecting, isn't it? Where some drivers are going a long stint at the beginning, particularly those solo drivers like Carvel and Coburn. Then you've got, so I'm wondering, Max Dave's doing a long stint to start with, and then Chris Neal will do a couple. And the same with Patrick Scharfegger going long at the beginning, and then Stephen Bestwick potentially to do a couple of stints at the end. Because as you say, you could, if you wanted, to do one pit stop after another in quick succession. There is Rob Carvel from third. There's one in the pit lane, potentially with a problem.
Is that still the 27 car, the Weinberg car? Yeah, it is. Confirmation there. I think we've got Anthony heading down to find out what the situation is. I'm told that the feature that Stefan is planning for us was how he's learning from Martin Donnelly.
Right.
In this. So, we've got thanks to Jason Noble for messaging me that.
Particularly after that interview earlier, it'd be interesting to see what Martin teaches, Stefan.
I'm sure nothing's not there already. So, coming up to halfway in this race, as we say. And still, you would think, it could be fairly wide open here because Sam Carrington Yates has got to hand over to Andy Woodburn at some point for at least 15 minutes of this race.
3 abreast going into Brundle here. They're all going to get out the other side. It's 87 who comes out on top. That's Louis Woodward, who come nicely up after his first stop. So he's the 5th of the pit stoppers, up ahead of Rory Baptiste. I don't really remember seeing Woodward's name up there in the first part of the race. So
no.
He's come on strong.
Just settle into a nice rhythm, a nice routine. It's all about getting as consistent a lap time as you can, I suppose.
Stefan Mapley, by the way, did a 1 minute 41 on the most recent lap. Only 5 seconds away from the fastest lap of the race. We think it's Stefan in the car at the moment. In 18th position. One for the pits there, car number 1. That's James Reddish.
Yeah, that's the car that's had a 5-second penalty as well. And Rob Carvel in the pits.
So at least more than half the cars have done their first stop now, haven't they?
Yeah.
Haven't noted a second stop just yet.
No, that's not to say there hasn't been one, but we're doing our best to keep tabs of the pit stops from here. Our vantage point this weekend doesn't allow us to see the cars coming into the pit lane, but it does mean that we are able to take for you on the live stream.
Some more side-by-side action here under the bridge on the inside. That's 58, so that's Ian Carvel. And Ian Carvel will be keen to get out ahead of his brother, won't he, when Rob's currently in the pit lane. Ian Carvel currently the 4th of the stoppers. I think we've got Coburn in as well, 231, so I believe. So 3 of the front runners are in the pits this time, so that gives us a more detailed view into how the first stoppers are. There is the first of the stoppers, kind of 12, Sam Carrington Yates.
Yep.
He's done 3/4 of an hour at the wheel of the race now, at the wheel of the car. Out the pits, is that Rob Carvel?
Yeah.
Ian Carvel, sorry, he goes out after his stop.
Yeah, I think it was Rob Carvel, wasn't it, who was in that time, and then the 231 car heading back out as well, which was John Coburn, as you mentioned.
Rob Carvel was 2 seconds ahead of James Alford, but of course Alford's up to racing pace, so maybe if we can pick that up as they go down to the hairpin, where the 59 Rob Carvel is ahead still of James Alford, so they'll be making their way down to the hairpin at the moment. So I think we're going to get a shot of that in a moment. It'll be interesting to see. And this would be for the second of the pit stoppers. Looking just there at Stefan Mapley at the moment as he makes his way round. He's just behind Matt Maxted, the leader on the road in the 71 car. Good colour scheme, and that's a retro BMW look to that colour scheme, I think.
Caitlin Finneran giving her support to her boyfriend Alex Povey in the car Alex is sharing with Guy Povey, so that's that one, and also a shout out for Tyndall and Hollywood car, their first race today in any series, so best of luck to them. I think as far as I know the 27 car is still in the pits, unfortunately.
Yeah, still have just done 14 laps.
Yeah. So, no news, I'm afraid, as to when that car will be back out. If we do find it again, I'll let you know.
There's 26 that lost so much time. That's down to 24, the car that Lachlan Bearman drove well up earlier.
I was looking at the exhaust on that. It didn't look as if it was sitting quite right then either.
No, so that would explain why it lost that time earlier. So the Caulfield car's had a second stop, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So that would suggest Anthony Seddon now in that car. So Carrington Yates is now 40 seconds ahead of James Alford, who's just ahead of Rob Carrington, ahead of Rob Carvel, that's what I was trying to say. So Alford and Carvel, second and third of the stoppers, are together, 88 and 59. 5th and 6th overall, but second and third in those stoppers, although I suspect the Maxted car and the Shafthager car will be factored into that battle. We're just looking at this 26 car with the potential exhaust problem we were a moment ago. So problems continue there for the car, I think currently being drove by Edward Rapparager. Exhaust problems seem to be a factor of the weekend for some of us.
So they do, don't they? Coming up to 50 minutes into this race, so those that are doing 2 drivers, probably stopping around that now. Yeah, there you can see problem with the...
well, that's exactly what happened to mine yesterday.
You weren't trying to drive around Snetterton, you were just trying to drive to Snetterton. So yeah, that's not good news. Something probably that would be relatively easy for us after the meeting, but not so quick to do it during the race. So
there's Maxted. I wonder if Scharthegger's in because his time hasn't come through. So 99 could be in the pit lane, which will mean Maxted is the last of the top runners yet to pit.
Car 80 sing out. That's Theo Millward that will have taken over now from Chris Bayliss.
Yeah, I think the Scharthegger car is in, confirmed. So Stephen Bestwick will take over the TCS Motorsport car, number 99. Carrington Yates, that will put him second overall when he comes through, with Maxted still to stop up front. Just looking there at car number 2, which is Chris Noakes, going solo during the course of this race, and is currently in 25th position. There's Chris Slater, 17, and Chris Slater is where in the race? 14th position for Chris. I think he's made a stop. He's just ahead of Stephen Mapley, in fact, by a few seconds, and he is behind Lewis Tyndall, who I think you spoke about a moment ago. Lee Hollywood and Andrew Bayliss sharing that car. So Carrington Yates has gone through. He's the leading stopper, car number 12, who's just behind the 26 car. There he is, 12, the leading pit stopper, Sam Carrington Yates. And we shall see shortly who the second of the stoppers are. On the road, it's James Alford, but we've got a couple in the pit lane, and 99 goes out.
Yeah, so Scharthegger handing over, we would, well, not necessarily, but Stephen Beswick, the second driver there.
Likely to at this stage, you would think.
Yeah, and now I see a black and orange flag. It's for the 26 car again, I think. Yeah, it's going out, the meatball flag. So that's the car with the dragging exhaust that's going to have to come back into the pits, I'm afraid.
So it's about half a minute between Carrington Yates and now Stephen Bestwick in the 99 car. Then Alford, then Carval, then Coburn. So that's the top 5 of the stoppers. But Matt Maxted handing over to Chris Neal will be amongst them, you would think. So there's Carrington Yates, the leader, or the pit stop leader, in second overall, car number 12, just slipping up the inside of a back marker. And down into Murray's, there you go, and accelerate off, and Carrington Yates staying out for another lap, so I don't think Andrew Woodbine's going to get a huge amount of driving in this race. I think they're looking for a good result, aren't they, leading this race by half a minute.
Well, I guess sometimes your plan may change as the race goes on. If it's going well, you probably will want to stay out there and maximise the result. If it doesn't go well in the first phase of the race, then you might think, well, we're not going to get the win. Let's go out to enjoy ourselves as much as we can and to share the truck time. But the car just heading out is 93.
That's the Povey car.
Yeah, so that's the Alex on board now, taking over from Guy.
On the screen is the 10th place car. Jason Dixon started it, sharing that with Graham Collison and Andrew Shang. As I say, inside the top 10, just a couple of seconds ahead of the Reddish and Woodgate car, and a bit further behind Eddie McKean, who's into 9th now. The Scharthegger car's not come back round, has it? Oh, there it is. So it's dropped back. It was only half a minute behind, so I think Stephen Bestwick's had an issue on his outlap. So he's dropped behind Alford and Carvel. So car 99 with a potential drama. There's Rob Carvel then, who's now 4th on the road, and not far behind him should be Stephen Bestwick, who's had a slow outlap. Whether it's drama or if that's just him slowly getting up to pace. He hasn't quite as quick as his teammate, yet to be seen. He has a novice cross, I think, on the back of that car, so it might just take a little bit longer to get into it when you've been watching the race, and then you've got to get into a hot car in a race situation isn't necessarily the easiest thing to do.
Absolutely not. Still, I'm afraid the 27 car hasn't made it out of the pits, so that's a great shame.
On the positive side, everybody else is still racing.
No, that's good to see. I think these are going to be reasonably reliable bulletproof vehicles, so perfect for these 90-minute races. There's a couple more of them to be had this season. There's the 26 car.
Still being worked on, which is good to see. Hopefully they get that back out.
Getting them jacked up.
Got a driver getting in, so are they confident? Driver getting out, that's less positive. Or perhaps they've now decided that a different driver should be getting in when they
might as well make this as a driver change, I suppose.
Disinfectant goes in the car. Interesting to see.
Yeah, not something that we've been used to seeing before, but an essential part of the racing now.
So we'll see what lap time Beswick does this time and whether he's not going to have the pace of his teammate. No, it's 30. Oh no, it's a 46, isn't it? So Beswick going to be slower, and he's lost out to Coburn. So I think the 99 car is going to drop down the order a bit. So perhaps Stephen Beswick new to racing. 1 minute 46 is lap time. So I think that car's going to tumble down the order somewhat. But good first in there from Patrick Shartlegger.
Yeah, absolutely right. Very convincing. First, another car going out. I didn't
That
catch
was-
the number. Did you see that one?
Yeah, that was the Louis Woodward car.
Oh, so
who-
he's made a second stop then.
Yes, so where did he come out in compared to Seddon? I think Seddon's ahead. And I think Ian Carvel might have made a second stop too, because he's in that order of the screen.
Okay.
So we are seeing these second stops now, which would make sense. We're coming up to the hour mark.
Yeah.
So I think the first of the two stoppers is Anthony Seddon. He was about 10 seconds ahead of Ian Carvel, who's about 20 seconds ahead of Louis Woodward. So only half a minute between those three.
Two more races this season for these cars at Anglesey in September, Alton Park in October. Oh, big moment there for Rob Carvel and the 59 car back stepping out.
Max must have made a stop because he's not leading.
Well, that's true, and that means Sam Carrington Yates is.
So that now we've got a fairly true order after everybody's made a stop. Carrington Yates in. Just as that happened.
Okay.
So that will be Andrew Woodbine to get in for the last
35 minutes, something like that.
Now we're seeing some pretty close times on the screen, aren't we? James Alford lead by 3 seconds over Rob Carvel, who is battling with Chris Neal. Now is he pulling away from Chris Neal, I wonder? Not sure if Neal's lap was an out lap. With 1 minute 47. Then Coburn, then Beswick. Beswick getting quicker now, 1:43. Then Baptiste in 6th, all one stoppers. There's the leader, I think, James Alford into Brundle. There's second Carvel. There's a lapped car. That's the double stopping car there of Seddon. So he'll be looking to chase this gap to the car that goes up the pit lane now, Andrew Woodbine. So it's about half a lap between them and Seddon, who has also made 2 stops. There is Ian Carvel, another driver with 2 stops on his race. So just as the screen started to make sense again, Ian, it's all mixed up a bit. But I think we're fairly well keeping on top of this, which
We
is
are.
good.
Has the 27 car gone out again? Because it's now showing us doing 90 laps. It had only done 70. So we'll see if that car has gone out
Was
again.
it the 26 car that was having the work on that time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a different car with the same team.
Yeah.
I think we can hear from Anthony Jordan, though, down in the pits.
So we're here with David from the car 27. David, we saw the car in the pit lane for quite a while with the mechanics under the engine. Can you tell us what happened out there?
Yeah, so we had a spark plug that was misfiring. The team tried to get it out. In so doing, we broke one of the casings, so the team had to get down to try and get it out to fit the new spark plug, but it wasn't easy.
Yeah, I can imagine that was quite frustrating for the team. So, yeah, I mean, you were running well. A misfire out on track is definitely not ideal, of course, with such early on in the race. Are you hoping to keep the car out there for the entire race? You're going to keep it out and run it?
Yeah, I think that's the idea. I think we were okay on position. We weren't great. We had an issue during qualifying as well, which put us further back in the grid than I think we wanted to be. But I think we're going to run it to the end, see what happens. You know, it's a long race. It's a 90-minute race. You know, all kinds of things can happen.
Yeah, I mean, seeing your mechanics working on it hard, it shows the passion that they've got. It literally looked like he jumped on top of the engine. His legs were up in the air, so you can see a very good commitment from the team, though.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They did their absolute best. It was a really horrible thing to try and get out. It was a spark plug right at the back of the engine bay as well, so they had to take off a bunch of panels to get there, but they pushed really hard to get through, and we're very grateful to them.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Well, good luck for the rest of the race. Hope it all stays well.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you, you very much, Anthony. And so at least the 27 car is back out there, so that'll be Eduardo Frediani in the car now. But just worked out the car that didn't start the race was 28, I think, wasn't it? That's the Daniel Reed, Kiefer Del Piero and Lucas Nanetti car that didn't make it out. Another of the 40-40 racing entries.
They've not had the best of luck, have they, in this race?
They've not.
So first flying lap from Andrew Woodburn is a 140, which is 3 seconds slower than what Anthony Seddon, the next of the two stoppers, has done. The gap is 34 seconds. 34 seconds is the gap to watch then from car 12 to car 5. The first, big spin on the screen.
That's number 2, who's spread muck all over the circuit. So that's Chris Noakes.
And that was right in front of the Seddon car, who's second of the two stoppers. So yeah, 32 seconds, that's the gap to watch, I think, between those. And of course, we've got the one stoppers who have been running well yet to pit. James Alford, Carvel, and Chris Neal, for example. I think there is Chris Neal in the GAZ Shocks car.
Yep.
Third overall. Right behind him now, John Coburn catching. But notice that Stephen Bestwick's getting a bit quicker now. And he's there in 5th position. Rory Baptiste in 6th.
Hour gone now in this race, so 2/3 of the way through. Alford, Carvel and Neal, the top 3 as things stand, but we do have the pit stop still to shake out.
Andrew Woodbine's done a 36 now, so he's almost as quick as Sam Carrington Yates.
Yeah.
So that means Anthony Seddon's going to struggle to catch, I suspect. So good effort there from Andrew Woodbine. New driver name on me. So could well be a novice racer. Which, if that's the case, that's a very strong lap time to be only 4/10 of a second of Sam Carrington
The
Yates.
name rings a bell, but I'm not sure how much racing he has done. There's the 80 car going through. This is the Theo Millward car now. Our 3 is in the pits, which is the Rick Shortall, Julian Kingston Smith, Rob Raymond car. I think it was Rick Shortall doing the middle stint.
Rick, Formula Ford racer from the 1980s.
Yeah, I think I remember the Honda CRX challenge as well from memory. As well again, late 1980s.
Put a book out as well a few years ago. You can read all about it there, I'm sure.
So Rob Raymond, the 3rd driver due out in that car.
For 3rd position across the line, it was 1/100th of a second between them as John Coburn got ahead of Chris Neal. So Alford, Carvel and Coburn, the 3 solo drivers at the top of the order, but still to make their 2nd stop. It's the 8th place car, which has done so already. Andrew Woodbine taken over from Sam Carrington Yates.
Yeah, so only 15 minutes, or just under 15 minutes now, for drivers to make their 2nd stops if they've not already done so. They all have to be done and dusted by the 75-minute mark. Anything taken beyond that, or there's a penalty for a lap that will be incurred. So still a few drivers that need to do that, a few teams that need to do that. The 29 car has been in and gone out again, so that's onto its 3rd driver now. I believe with Derek Cohen or Asa Murius Closas.
I think the Shan car in the pits now as well.
Also a 3-driver team.
On track, Ian Carvel 2-stopper is right behind Chris Neal 1-stopper. So trying to unlap himself there is Ian Carvel, who's 15 seconds behind Anthony Seddon. So the 3rd of the 2 stoppers is Carvel. The 4th of those is Woodward, who's starting to fall away now. There it goes Ian Carvel, just ahead of Chris Neal now on the road.
Lap time's much quicker than they were in qualifying, about 8 seconds faster in fact, because it was damp after overnight rain for the practice session, which was 2nd out on track this morning.
Woodbine's now done a 36.5, only a 10th of Carrington Yates' time. Which kind of makes you wonder if it actually definitely was Carrington Yates.
Exactly, we don't know, unfortunately, because that was one of the teams where we don't know who the start driver was. In any case, well, we know there wasn't a driver change, was there?
Either way, they're very equal
Yeah.
pair in there.
Yeah. What we will have to encourage the 116 trophy to try and do is find a way of identifying which driver is in each car at any given time, which would be very helpful.
It looks like Andrew Woodburn might have done Compact Cup.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing his name in that. Now you mention it, which of course Sam Carrington Yates has done some racing in that as well.
Absolutely.
So, just coming into the last third of the race then, last few minutes before we can close the pit stop window. And once we've done that, of course, it boils down to a straight onto the flag.
There's probably quite a lot of stops to happen, hasn't there, in that next 10 minutes or so?
Yeah, most teams have just made the one stop so far. I think everyone has made at least one stop. Have you got any on your list that haven't stopped at all?
I don't know if I've quite kept up with everybody.
No, I don't think I have. But
I've got sort of 3 or 4 that I haven't got any
yeah.
pit stops next to.
Of course, it is possible that they could do 2 back-to-back.
I would suggest if anybody hadn't made any stops, they'd sort of shoot to the top of the times rather.
Well, exactly. So I think everyone probably has made at least one.
James Ilford across the line, the leader, 4.5 seconds ahead of Rob Carvel. So those are 2 cars that are going to factor in pretty well after the stops. Somewhere around Anthony Seddon and Ian Carvel, you would think. There is James Ilford, then the overall lead up the slide.
Yeah, just you must have known the camera was on him all of a sudden. The Platinum Car Centre entered machine. Had a second last year, a couple of cars in the pits by the looks of it.
75 was one of those, so that's the Tyndall, Hollywood and Bayliss car.
The 26 car was up on the jack, wasn't it, in the background, you could see. 40-40 squad, Midas simulation team.
Coburn in, I reckon. 2-3-1, making his second stop. So
They were both quite late, weren't they?
that is going to be interesting how it factors. I think everyone was expecting a safety car, weren't they? But everyone who's drove well so far during this. Didn't within a few spins, but they've all got back on again.
It's probably not unreasonable to expect that there would be a safety car and sort of to try and punch last year around that.
Change for 4th on the road there. Rory Baptiste going around the outside of Stephen Beswick. So 4th on the road now for Baptiste. Both yet to make their final stop.
Yeah, and only 10 minutes to do that now.
We wait to see when Coburn goes out, 2-3-1, where he factors in the 2 stoppers. Because soon Anthony Seddon will be through. Oh, there we go. So Seddon is now the second of the completed pit stop runners. I think Chris Slater's not made 2 stops. No, he's that kind of a bit off, aren't they? So he's amongst them. But
well, yeah, I hadn't got him down as having stopped at all, but I think he must have stopped at least once.
yeah, so Seddon, the second of the double stoppers. Carvel's gone through to be the 3rd. Coburn now comes out the pit lane. So he's 4th, something like that, of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4th of the completed pit stop runners. The 1 stoppers, Alford, Carvel, would certainly factor into that. So yeah, Ian and Rob Carvel, who didn't qualify so well, look like they're on for a pretty good result. They should be top 6, I reckon, by the end of this.
To be fair, you'd probably expect them to be there or thereabouts. We're both very experienced tin top racers. I don't see them so much in long distance racing.
I wonder if they may have done a Brit car 24 or something
I'm
like
sure
that.
they probably have at some point.
Of course, in the heyday of the Brit car 24, they had big old grids.
93 spinning. That's the Alex Povey car. So Sadie Hall driver has a spin and he's going to lose track position there to the number 29 car, which is coming past.
That is for position, that's for 20th.
Okay, so that's the Derek Coyne, Travis Coyne and Daza Murius Klossas Rotamek 40-40 Racing entered car.
I suspect they've both made their 2 stops, being in 20th and 21st positions. James Alford's gone through again. Now he's got to make this final stop in the next 7 minutes. So what, 4 laps, something like that.
Yeah, I think so. another driving standards flag being shown to somebody. So we'll see if that gets followed up with a 5-second track limits penalty for anybody who's coming for a little while.
Andrew Woodburn, by the way, 37 seconds ahead of Anthony Seddon. So, as we suspected, that's not coming down. And Seddon is 18 seconds ahead of Carvel, who is 14 seconds ahead of Coburn. Now, we've got more pit lane news coming from Anthony Jordan. So down to Anthony down in the pit lane.
So joining me again in the pit lane, we have Lee Hollywood, the number 75. Lee, how's the race going out there for you?
It's actually going really well. We started pretty much stone cold last after some electrical gremlins, but we managed to fight our way up, and now we were almost in the top 10. So we've done a really, really good job to kind of get to where we are. So it's hot out there, but it's good fun. It's good fun.
The sun has definitely come out, obviously, compared to the weather we had this morning. The rain was out, sun's out now, which is great. And of course, your first ever race here at GAZ.
Yeah, it's all been a bit of a kind of last minute thing. It was literally my first track day was 2 weeks ago. And then I did my ARDS test literally last week, and then it was testing here and then the race. So yeah, literally in the space of 2 weeks, I went from not having a license to racing in the championship. So not bad, really.
Oh, fantastic! And of course, the 750 Motor Club is, of course, a lot of people's first choice to go to for their first time of racing. Obviously, very cost-effective and a friendly paddock.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, the whole kind of organisation has been fantastic. The 116 trophy is exactly what we need. We got two other guys, Lewis and Andrew, who are racing with me. Been friends for a long, long time through karting, and it's just a really great atmosphere. You know, it's not just all about just the racing, but it's the camaraderie, the social aspect. We've been having a great time.
Awesome, and of course, a first race choice, and you've gone straight away for a 90-minute endurance race. It's a bold call. I would have gone for a small sprint race, nice and quick, get it over and done with.
Yeah. Well, actually, from my karting days, I used to do a lot of endurance, and so I used to do a lot of 24-hour endurance and all over the world. So actually here, 90 minutes is almost one stint in that I would have done in karting. So it's not too bad.
Well, there we go. Well, good luck for the rest of the race. It's great to have you in the 750 paddock.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thanks.
Thank you, Anthony. And good to hear from some of the newcomers. And yeah, the 116 trophy, very accessible way to go motor racing, and I'm sure more and more people will join the grid. They really are credible little cars, but very affordable as well. This kind of endurance racing for budget cars is becoming more and more popular, but I think this is probably the best offering now.
Yeah, rear-wheel drive BMW, a very established brand, isn't it? It's if you take it to your mates, you're racing a BMW, and that's a nice thing to say, and particularly if you're doing it for a very sensible cost.
No, it's certainly got a bit more cachet about it than some of the alternatives.
Absolutely. Pit stops have been completed for James Alford and for Chris Neal, and Alford has come out, I think, just ahead of the Carvels. So we've also had that pit stop, of course, from Rob Carvel.
There is Neal just exiting the pit lane on the inset.
He's further back then. So let's work. Is that Alford coming down towards the camera? Possibly in 88.
Hard to tell, isn't it?
There's 17, Chris Slater.
Just behind the 26 car, which is back out there, so that's good to see. I think that's probably got Gary Colburn on board now. Third different driver on that car, which has had some problems as the race has gone on.
So it should become a battle for third, Alford and the two Carvels, and they're pretty close together. The timing screen suggesting 5 seconds as the gap, but that might fluctuate a bit as they get back up to speed after the pit stops. So 88, 59 and 58 might be 3 cars to focus on when we find them out on the circuit, which I think will become the battle for third place in this race, a podium position, and they're not that far behind Anthony Seddon, something like 12 seconds. Seddon not really catching Woodburn in any particular way. So Woodburn across the line, the leading stopper, 40 seconds ahead of Seddon, and then the next cars across the line will be that battle for third position. See if James Alford has held on in 88.
Right, we've got a stop-go penalty for number 26 now. That's the car that's been in the pits more than most.
Right, James Alford is a second ahead of the Carvels, are absolutely together. So what I think will be the battle for third, fourth and fifth is very much on in this race. So James Alford 1 second ahead of Rob Carvel, who's got his brother Ian right on his tail.
Yeah, the stop-and-go penalty could be for excess speed in the pit lane. That's probably most likely, I would think, but it could also be for yellow flag infringement. It's not going to be for any of the other possible reasons, so I would go for probably speeding in the pit lane infringement for the 26 car, Gary Colburn.
So there is Seddon, who is third overall, but I think will end up second. The car behind him goes off at 80, the Chris Bayliss and Theo Millward car.
Yeah, Millward in that car at the moment, I think.
So Seddon 15 seconds ahead of James Alford, who is leading that battle for what will become third position. There is the stop-go penalty board that Ian mentioned.
It's a shame for that team who've put so much effort in to get the car back out on track. They are running in 26th position in car 26, just ahead of team 27 in 27th position, a couple of laps between them. They've both had their trials and tribulations as this race has gone on. James Reddish's car, the Redwood Racing car, has been in and gone out again, so they've completed their pit stops now. Car number 1.
And Rory Baptiste in, so from the lead, so now the pit stop cycle has worked its way out. It's Woodburn that leads from Seddon, and then this group of cars that go across the line. There's Seddon you see in P2, and Alford now only 0.6 of a second ahead of Ian Carvel, but Rob has dropped away. Perhaps a bit of traffic for Rob Carvel. I think we're looking back. Here is this battle then for third position. James Alford ahead of Ian Carvel. This will be a battle that goes to the end of the race. We just saw them turn into the hairpin there. Alford ahead in P3, separated by just 0.6 of a second. So all these cars to lap shortly. So it's going to be a busy final quarter of an hour for them.
And the marshal will think about to put the pit closed window board out as well, because we are up at the 75-minute mark now. So yeah, the pit window is closed, so anyone that hasn't made both of their stops is now in a situation whereby they'll be receiving a penalty.
Anthony Seddon's worked his way through the traffic, but it's a bit further behind where the third place battle is, with Ian Carvel catching rapidly on that most recent lap towards James Alford. Alford has done a better best lap of the race than Ian Carvel, but Ian Carvel is with him. So a bit further behind this battle that we're watching currently is where we will see third and fourth. And now partial boards are out everywhere. I think it's the pit close board is being added to the list.
Yep, certainly is.
I suspect it's going down to Murray's at the moment. It's the battle for third and fourth position.
So in a minute, there's the Redwood Racing car, I should say, just behind 22, Richard Roundell.
Alford still ahead of Carvel for third as they've crossed the line. Has the gap. It hasn't increased at all. It's 0.4 of a second.
53 car we just saw on screen making a move there. That's the race car door cards entered machine. That's the Andrew Shangrim, Collison and Jason Dixon entered machine.
That a bit smoky, the one car?
Well, it is, isn't it? I noticed that a minute ago as well. The Reddish and Woodgate machine. Yeah. So possibly that's not much longer for this race.
It's currently running 12, or it was, but it was a slow last lap, and we just saw, I think, the Chan car go through, didn't we? There is a Chan car, 53.
Yeah.
And there is the one car, so that's a change for 12th place.
Yeah, and that's was that 1 or 2 laps down? 1 lap down, I think, probably, after everything gets shaken out. Less than 15 minutes to go.
It's pretty competitive, apart from the 12 car up front, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Beyond that, I mean, there's actually you've got 3 cars within about 3 seconds, haven't you, for third, fourth, and fifth at the moment.
That's certainly the battle, I think, to watch towards the end. There is James Alford, so now we're looking at it.
Yeah.
The battle for third and fourth. So Alford just ahead of Ian Carvel. Both these drivers, of course, have raced for 90 or for 76 minutes so far. So we're getting a bit tired, you would suspect. Carvel sideways there out of Murray's, and that's lost him a lot of momentum, actually. So he's dropped away from Alford a little bit there. Third and fourth across the line with Rob Carvel not too far away. There he is. So the two identical cars chasing after James Alford. 58 ahead of 59, so Ian ahead of Rob.
Yep, third, fourth and fifth. That's the battle that we're watching. Woodburn, Carrington, Yates car leading in number 12 from number 5, second in Caulfield. Then it's 88, Alford, 58 Carvel, 59 Rob Carvel, and 231 John Coburn.
You've got 6 cars at least on the lead lap then.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Another word from the pit lane. Here's Anthony once more.
Oh, we're here with Chris Bates with the car, 80 in the pit lane, 22nd place at the moment. It looks like a great race for you at the moment. Weather's cleared up, and I've heard that you only renewed your racing licence on Wednesday.
Yeah, absolutely. Passed my odds on Wednesday at Mallory Park, and with the guys there at the Motorsport School, which was great. It's actually the second time I've done it with them, only also the second time I've been at Mallory to do that, and we had a great day. A bit dicey this morning, literally being the first time in the car. My partner Theo, who's out now, this is his very first race, and also very first time at Snetterton. So we're just pleased to not be last, and actually we did all right. So we started 26th. I bought the car in 8th, although a lot of people did pit, but I'll take it. And yeah, we now seem to be lapping pretty solidly, and hopefully we're going to achieve our goal, which is not be last.
What? Yes, exactly. It's always good not to be last. But I mean, yeah, we've got great weather for today. Of course, this morning the rain came down. Were you out this morning?
Yeah. So I went out first, being as the senior team member, being as I've been here once, and yeah, it was all right. Theo had a bit of trouble. He looped it a few times, but we really got a handle on the car, and we were both lapping pretty much at the same pace, and yeah, it went pretty well, considering it was a bit of a baptism of fire for Theo certainly, and me too.
No, perfect. So, well, we'll let you crack on, enjoy the rest of your race, and yeah, we'll best of luck.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Anthony. We've seen the black flag go out now. We think to the 26 car, which had not observed it stopping. There's one that's stopped in the sort of penalty box as well, which looks like one of the RAF cars. I can't tell which one. Oh no, it might be the 26. I can only see a fraction of the roof. Yes, I think it is the 26 car that's now stopped in the penalty box in the pit lane.
There is the RAF car on the screen. That is Eddie McKean, who is in 11th place, and catching Stephen Beswick, who is in 10th, the car that was started by Patrick Scharthegger. So Keen Gatchin can get in the top 10 before the end. That's his mission. Oh, bit sideways there, 29. That's the coin car that's about to be put down a lap by Chris Neal, who's in 9th position after taking over from Matt Maxted.
26 car has gone back out against it. It was the 26 machine that was serving its stop-go penalty, not one of the RAF cars.
See, we've got Martin Donnelly out now there. He's just on a PB in 71, 1 minute 38.3. Got the 71 up to 15th position now.
Yeah, certainly a bit quicker than Stefan Mapley, I would think.
Only a few seconds, so decent effort from Stefan, I think.
Wouldn't it be awkward if the premise of the feature was that Martha was teaching Stefan, how to get around and Stefan was quicker? But
that's assuming we've got the drivers the right way around.
Stefan will be on WhatsApp to me, I'm sure, if I'm wrong.
There's Carvel, that's Rob, sorry. Is it Rob or Ian? Didn't see the number. James Alford, third. It's 59. Where's the 58 car gone then?
It's a good question.
It was only a second between them, obviously a bit further up the road. So Alford and the Carvel brothers battling for 3rd, 4th and 5th. I think that's Alford at the front of this pack, isn't it? And then right on his tail is Ian Carvel, so in the traffic, Rob's lost a bit of time there, I think.
How are we doing for time? We're to about the last 7 or 8 minutes of this race now. That's the 44 car you can see going through, which is Richard Phillips. See Richard here in this race, the Plymouth driver, newcomer, as you can see from the novice course on the back of his car. And where's he running? In 23rd place, so not too bad an effort first time out.
Through shot goes the back of the 3rd. Alford still ahead of Carvel. Gap up front now, 43 seconds by the way. Woodbine to Seddon. And then across the line goes the 3rd place battle with Alford still ahead the two Carvel guys, although they've got a car to lap, and that's not going to help Ian Carvel, I don't think.
Not at all. So that's the 22 car that they're trying to lap, Richard Brundle.
He's running 21st position.
So there's Alford chucking his car around the hairpin, and still the Carvel machine on 58 unable to get past 22 Richard Brundle, which he does now on the exit of Chapman. So Ian Carvel can chase after Alford now, and Rob Carvel was just a little bit further behind. They're both quite some way behind the two leaders, the Woodburn, Carrington, Yates and Alan Caulfield cars.
The band of a 7th just went across the line. Louis Woodward got ahead of Rory Baptiste on that lap, just 0.3 of a second separate those two as well. So there's battles coming right to the end of this 90-minute race.
Last year, Alan Caulfield and Sam Carrington Yates combined for a couple of second place finishes, I think, in the 116 trophy, which sometimes had standalone races and sometimes raced as part of other series.
At this rate, they won't need to do that again.
No, absolutely. It's great to see so many cars, and a real pleasant surprise actually to turn up here and see so many cars. Meatball flag out for someone. That's the black flag with the orange spot.
New equal fastest lap of the race. Anthony Seddon has matched on that lap the Carrington Yates lap, 1 minute 36.42. So identical fastest laps at very different times within the race.
Looks like someone's going to get a 10-second penalty as well by looking at the board that's being prepared.
The Carvels now, what, a second and a half away from James Alford.
Closer to each other, aren't they?
Yes.
And they were. But we're into about the last 5 minutes or so of the race. Now, who's getting that 10-second penalty? We'll see if we can spot anything on our screens. You'd think, therefore, it's one of the drivers that's already got a 5-second penalty, so either the Tafen, Mapley and Donnelly car or the Reddish and Woodgate car. Because then the 10 seconds is the next penalty you get after the 5 seconds for track limits infringements.
Absolutely. For 14th position, you've got Martin Donnelly just ahead of Anthony Wilds. So, former Formula 1 driver being chased by former Formula 1 driver's son.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's good to see Anthony back out there. Last time I saw him race was in a Ferrari, which may have lapped slightly quicker than these BMWs.
Possibly.
But these do lap quicker than the Citroen 2CV that he raced, a decade or so ago with his dad.
Quite comfortably. That's 5 minutes then. Race coming to an end. Still 3rd, 4th and 5th, could change. Here's the trio making up those positions, heading into Murray's now. So you've got number 88 James Alford, number 58 Ian Carvel, number 59 Rob Carvel, all separated by only about 2 seconds after 85 minutes of racing. Along the start finish straight to go, they'll see someone getting a 10-second penalty, but not quite sure as yet who that is.
Well, the one car just been in the pit lane, the Reddish and Woodgate car, which was the other car that did have a penalty.
Yeah, well, I think that maybe the meatball flag was for that one as well, possibly because that was smoking, wasn't it?
Yes. So they've dropped down the order, therefore.
Yeah. So there's the Ian Carvel, 58, and the Wilson hairpin he goes. And onto the Bentley straight, pursued by his brother Rob.
Donnelly's been caught by Wilds. Just 1.5 seconds between those two now. Two of probably the two most experienced drivers in the race, so I guess alongside the Carvels.
Yeah, possibly so.
Martin Donnelly, I guess he takes it rather to the next level, doesn't he?
Yeah.
From the others who are club racers.
Yeah. So there is the 26 car, which has been out of the pit lane several times. Now with James Alford right behind it. Turning its way through the right-hander at the bomb hole. No sign really that 3rd place is going to change, or 4th place for that matter, as we go into the final few minutes. We've had the race to go across the line again, 41 seconds clear of the rest. We've now got 3 minutes of the race left to go, so probably maybe 2 more laps after the one that the leader has just started.
Alford caught a bit in behind the back marker there, which may have bring the gap back down a bit between Carvel, but then of course Carvel's got to get past the traffic himself. So they come up across the line. Still Alford trying to get past that car of the 26 car, the 44 racing car, and he goes through. 40 racing car even. And Ian Carvel is keen to get through quickly this time, and he does immediately, so the gap now is under a second again.
Yeah, it's closing.
What, 3 laps to go, I think?
Yeah, probably. I would think so for these drivers. So that there is a chance that third place could change around. First and second I don't think will, because they're 40 seconds apart. And it's 25 seconds pretty much between second and third as well. About 2/3 of a lap behind, aren't they, this battle for third, fourth and fifth?
Yes, you've got a quick duo up front, aren't they? Both in the 36s, Woodburn and Carrington Yates set. Whereas Snetterton and Caulfield was sort of at good pace too, but they had that off that lost them a lot of time early on, which would be much closer if that wasn't the case. And then these guys, well, Carvel hasn't even got into the 36s, but consistent there, and that's helped him get Latch now back on terms with James Alford, with 2 further laps to go at the end of this for these guys, where it looked perhaps a bit more stable lap ago, and just that one car to lap in an awkward place brought the two together again.
Yeah. All bubbling up quite interestingly. Leaders gone through to start their penultimate lap now. That's the second place team, and there across the line go the third place cars as well. So it's 0.6 of a second between Alford and Carvel now. Ian Carvel, that is. And yeah, Rob Carvel about 3.5 seconds behind now, so he's out of the equation, I think. Settled for fifth. But between James Alford and Ian Carvel, the battle is certainly joined as we go into their final 2 laps. Almost overlapping there as they went into the Wilson hairpin for the penultimate time. They have a long drag along the Bentley Straight, 1.6 litre rear-wheel drive BMWs.
Donnelly's been caught by Wild now, so that's Martin Donnelly's going to have a race to the line for 14th position. Can he hang on ahead of Anthony Wild?
And don't forget there's a 5-second penalty to be added to his time as well, isn't there, thinking about it? So that's sort of going to sort of hand the initiative to Wilds, one would think, but it'd be good to get the position turned over on the road.
There's Rob Carvel, who's lost that time now. They're in 5th position.
Leader was out of the windows, crossed the line to start his final lap then. The Woodburn and Carrington Yates car, 41 seconds clear of Snetterton and Caulfield. The gap has been pretty consistent between first and second all the way through here. So he'll be about halfway round now, the final lap in fact. There he is, already making his way towards the bomb hole. On towards Coram Curve, so Woodburn and Carrington Yates really have been in control of this race all the way through. It's been a pretty dominant performance. There's been no real disruptions, no mechanical issues, no safety cars to worry about or anything like that. So that car, the car of Andy Woodburn and Sam Carrington Yates, is going to come up to the line now. Checkered flag is being made ready and should go out any moment now. There it does, to the race winner in the first round of the season for the GAZ 116 trophy, and Andy Woodburn and Sam Carrington Yates taking the win.
To wait a while before we get anybody else on the lead lap, but we get some of the lap cars through first. Meanwhile, you're looking back to the battle for third here, quite possibly.
Yeah, looks like it, doesn't it? That's Alford and Ian Carvel.
Still Alford ahead. They were only separated by 18 hundredths at the line. Carvel really pushing on now, out over the curves. Both cars now on 90-minute-old tyres, on low fuel tanks. That's Smokey one car carrying on just ahead of them. Now are they going to catch him at Murray's, which Alford would prefer not to happen, of course. And I don't think they're quite close enough, so Alford can carry his speed through the corner.
Anthony said and Alan Caulfield have just crossed the line in second place as well, so number 5 takes second place.
I think Alford's going to hang on. It is going to be nose to tail for third position. In the tow is Ian Carvel. I don't think you've got enough momentum though to get him alongside. No, absolutely nose to tail, third and fourth across the line, and that equates to 22 hundredths of a second between third and fourth.
After 90 minutes of racing, so that's very tight indeed. And Rob Carvel home in 5th position, but there is the race winner, Andy Woodburn and Sam Carrington-Yates taking the checkered flag in the AWE Electrical Engineers car. Drivers showing their appreciation to the marshals at the end of that 90-minute race on the slowing down lap. Most of the drivers think have probably now crossed the line, so let's give you a rundown on the results. The winner, number 12, Andy Woodbine and Sam Carrington-Yates. From number 5, Anthony Seddon and Alan Caulfield, and they were 40.79 seconds behind. They both actually did identical fastest laps, 136.42, both of those cars. And that's a lap record, of course. Third was number 88, that's James Alford. We saw him just fending off Ian Carvel, number 58 by 0.2 of a second. In fourth place, number 59, Rob Carvel. Sixth, number 231, John Coburn. Seventh, number 87, Louis Woodward. Eighth, number 46, Rory Baptiste. So quite a few of the cars there, all the cars in fact from third to eighth, just single driver efforts. Ninth to Chris Neal and Matt Maxted. 10th to number 18, Ed McKean. I'm sure he'll be pretty happy with that. 99 car was in 11th place, that's Patrick Schaffiger and Stephen Beswick. 12th place to Shane Collinson and Dixon. In 14th place, number 71, that was the Tafen, Mapley and Donnelly car.
Check 1, 2.
And 15th was number 11, that was the Lakey and Anthony Wild's machine. But there is the winning car, Sam Carrington-Yates and Andy Woodbine. We'll find out who was in that car in just a moment, guess, because we're going to head down into the pit lane and Anthony Jordan is going to speak with the race winner.
Well, Samuel, talking to you here, you're getting ready. What a race that was. 90 minutes over in a flash.
Yeah, it certainly didn't feel like over in a flash. It was 90 long minutes. I don't think I've ever done such a long stint, but it was a good race. Car was great. Unfortunately, Andy wasn't feeling too well, so I just did the whole 90 minutes. But luckily, we've come home with a win.
Well, yeah, well done with that one. I mean, the weather is caught up with us here, and it's the sun's come out. Must have been super hot in here. I suspect you don't have the air conditioning running in here, do you? No, there's no aircon. I wish there was, but I've got my water bottle in here, so that's kept me a little bit cooler, and I've had the window open for the last 10 or 15 laps, so I managed to get enough of a gap so that I could look after the car a little bit at the end, because it was struggling. It looked like the pit stops all went okay for you. You had no issues with coming in, doing the mandatory stops, of course, but it was it was great to see. You had a good strategy. It worked well for you. Yeah, everything, to be honest, the weekend's gone perfectly. Qualifying was perfect. The race went pretty well. All the stops were spot on. And like I say, without the driver change, it makes it a bit easier. But to be fair, there's hopefully not a lot to go wrong with a minute and a half stop. No, exactly that. Well, again, congratulations. A great achievement for you today. A great start to the 2020 season. Thank you very much. Cheers. Thanks.